And we are live. What is up, Sober Nation?
What?
We are reporting for duty. I am Veronica Amarante, and I am with Tori. Hi, Tori.
Hi, Veronica. How's it going?
It's going. Nice to see you on this Thursday.
Good to see you too.
So we're doing this. We're making this a weekly thing.
This is
We're
actually a
really
thing.
going to do this every Thursday at 9 o'clock. Is what it's looking like.
Sounds saw you last week. I'll see you this week. I'll see you next week.
God willing.
Right?
Yeah, no, definitely. I'm having fun. I love doing these. And thank you to everybody who watched the last video. We got a lot of engagement. A lot of people got into that topic. And today we have another topic that everybody was really responsive to. I think, when it comes to helping the newcomer, I think this community is really good at that. They're so supportive. Like anytime we post the sober since pictures and people talk about how long they've been clean and sober, everybody kind of shows up and, really just supports that person and encourages them to keep going. Or if they're just coming back, they welcome people back. So I love that about us. And the fact that people are just willing to, just talk to a perfect stranger, just, leave a comment in the sober sense or whatever. So this week we asked a question and we asked the community what their tips were for newcomers. So everyone commented, a lot of people commented, not everyone, but a lot of people commented. And then what Tori did is that she went through everybody's answers and she compiled the most common answers and we came up with a list of the top tips, right, Tori? So do you want to talk about that process at all and kind of like what you saw as you were like reading those comments and, what you were doing when you were writing this piece?
Absolutely. So first of all, I'm going to say hi to Christine and Ryan and Joey, Mandy, Dorothy, Ronald, Kayla, Alicia, and Joey. Hey, everyone.
Thank you for watching.
Yeah, thank you guys. So I basically looked through that thread with the picture that you posted, and there were a lot of the same ones that kind of repeated over and over again. So I made those kind of stand out and at the beginning. And a lot of it was really good, tips, really good information. So I encourage, anyone to go back through that list of what other people have done that have helped them stay sober. So I really enjoyed writing it. I love writing these articles, especially because they come from you guys pretty much, and I just compile everything together. But I really enjoyed it. So why don't we just get to it?
Yeah, before we get into it though, I do want to shout out Matthew H. He's saying that he has 6 years today. That is amazing. Congratulations.
That's amazing.
5 years is hard to get to. I mean, a lot of people are listing your time, but I think his actual anniversary is today. So congratulations. That's amazing. And shout out to everybody else who's, jumping on here, letting us know how much time they have. And if you guys are celebrating today, congratulations. That's amazing. And thank you again, guys, for joining us live. And if you're watching the replay, thank you for tuning in too. We stick around, we comment. So be sure to leave a comment and engage with everybody who's commenting now, because everybody gets notified when somebody comments. So if you're watching the replay, don't feel like you're late and you're not going to be able to participate in some of the comments or the topics or the conversations that we are going to address tonight. But yeah, let's get right into it. Tip number 1. Find a sponsor or a mentor. And I love the fact that you put mentor in there, because sometimes people are not all going to be down with finding a sponsor or going to a 12-step fellowship. So I just want to be clear that, some of these tips are universal and they don't have to. So I don't want anybody to feel like, oh, that doesn't apply to me, or, that doesn't work for me because it's not this. I think the concepts, can be applied to anything that you believe in or any kind of recovery program that you are working. Mm-hmm. But you definitely need somebody that knows a little bit more than you do and who has a little bit more clean time that you do, no matter what you want to call that person. So, Tori, do you want to talk about the find a sponsor or mentor tip?
Yeah, and I love that you brought that up because, not everybody is down with the whole 12-step thing. Some people it just doesn't click with, and I've known a bunch of people who, they do other things. So I really think just someone who has done what you've done and is just trying to set out to do the same thing that you're doing, but someone that you actually really want what they have, and really look up to and really admire for everything that, and not just the things, because when I was getting sober, I was like, okay, well, I want someone who has a nice car and a nice purse and, wears nice clothes. But, obviously that didn't work out too well for me. So
Yeah.
Just someone who like really walks the walk and talks the talk. And at least that's, in my experience, what I want in someone, whether that be a mentor or a sponsor.
Yeah, no, for sure. And shout out to Carolyn, by the way. She's saying day one. So this is like her first day. This is a great topic and a great video for you to be participating in, because these tips are all for you. So you guys, can you remember your first day? Like I can, and it was not fun. So thank you so much, Carolyn, for like tuning in, being with us on your first day. And hopefully you'll get some good tips out of this. But yeah, man, like some people just don't, rock with 12-step fellowships. But I love also what you said about, not getting caught up in the appearances or feeling like, oh, that person, like, for example, like if you come in, to recovery and you don't have a car and that person's driving a super nice car and then, they're pretty fancy, whatever, like that's not, wanting what they have is not necessarily about material things. It's about, how they're living day to day without substances, how they're able to cope, with stress, with loss, with pain, with just everything that we have to deal with without picking up. And I think that, that's what we need to look at and find somebody that has done what we're trying to do and can teach us a few things and can, and then there's a whole slew of to-dos once you do find that person and how to approach that person, which I think is a topic that we do need to like kind of discuss, one of these days. Is like, how do you approach that person? Like, what do you say to that person? And, I know, if you're told how to do it, if you're in a 12-step situation, but if you're not, how would you find a mentor? How would you, but I think we do need to have that conversation about how to find a sponsor, how to find a mentor and somebody who can help us and guide us through this journey. So let's go to the comments. So let's see what people are talking about. What are you guys
30 days today from Ronald. Congratulations, Ronald. That's a big achievement.
Yeah, for sure.
Super, super hard.
Yeah. It's 30 days I can't even imagine. Congrats. And thank you for being here. And again, hope you get some tips that will help you, get 30 more days and more days and more days.
Absolutely. And Sarita is here from Finland. I just wanted to shout that out.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. It's like, what time over there? It's like 6 hours. They're probably 6 hours ahead. So it's like 3 a.m. Is it 3 a.m.? Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah.
Yeah, one day at a time for sure. If you're new, that's a huge one. Like you can't even think about getting. I remember when I first came in, I was like, "There's no way I can even like put together a week." I'm just
right
to be in everybody's business, because I'll tell you a story. Like the reason why I stuck around and I used to go to meetings is because I was fascinated with the fact that everyone would talk about all their problems, would talk about all their business. And I thought that was the most fascinating thing ever. And everybody's just telling all their business. And I would just sit there like, really? 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 And like, I was just like, oh my God, they're just putting all their business out there. And so I just wanted to be in everybody's business. And so I kept going and kept going and kept going. I know it is so bad to admit, but today I can admit that, that I was just shocked because I didn't think I could do it. I didn't think that was for me. So but that's what kept me going. Thank goodness that I found something that kept me going. I started to, I started to listen, to what was being said and applying some of those things in my life. And it happened for me, but, that's kind of what kept me going. But I couldn't see it, at first. Let's see. What else are you guys talking about? Almost 6 months.
And I think too, I'm just gonna I like how you said the one day at a time thing.
Yeah.
Because for me, when I really started getting sober, I had to even one day at a time. I had to take it like 1 second at a time, 1 minute at a time, 1 hour at a time, and that really, someone told me that a long time ago, and it really made a difference. Yeah.
And that's, for me, I had to even be a moment at a time, because I couldn't, think about it that long. And, again, but that all is stuff that I was told by a mentor, by a sponsor, and by someone who knew more than I did, So if we don't have somebody like that in our life that's like, telling us these things, then, we're not going to know how to deal with certain situations or get through those first few days, which are super, super tough. Mm-hmm. So moving on to number 2, tip number 2 is make meetings number 1. So tell me more about this tip, Tori.
Well, I mean, I think meetings and I'm not just talking about like 12-step meetings either, because like we said in the beginning, not everyone clicks with that. Whether that be like Smart Recovery or Refuge Recovery or Celebrate Recovery, there's even more than, that. There's so many more.
Church, whatever. Absolutely. Yeah.
I just think that, and a lot of people did say like do a 90 and 90, which means 90 meetings in 90 days. Or, I just think that you're in an environment with all these people and kind of like the sponsor or mentor thing. You learn from all these people, and it's basically makes you feel that you're not alone, and you can do this because other people have done it. And I think that's super important because in addiction, a lot of the times we're alone, and in recovery, we definitely need connection.
Yeah.
So, and with other, and, in meetings, there's other people that are working on their sobriety too. And so, it's kind of another connection, if you will.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think you're absolutely right. Whether it be, Celebrate Recovery, Smart Recovery, whatever it is, you do have to, do something every day and go somewhere and get out of, the isolation that we're so used to, being in addiction. Like we often, get to the point where we isolate from everyone. And so, the recovery process is all about support, whether that is in a 12-step fellowship, whether that is, in a church, whether it's, and there's so many churches who have like now programs and groups and ministries, for people who are in recovery, because their congregation, they're all, we're all in this together. Everyone, every demographic, today is struggling with this disease. So, so it's definitely something that everybody's like now providing resources for or support, especially people like churches. So definitely get out of the isolation and, make that number 1, whatever your program is, whether that's counseling or you're going to outpatient treatment. That needs to be your number 1, and you need to show up every time you're scheduled to be there, because that gets you out of your environment, that gets you focused on your recovery, on the things that you need to do, whatever you need to work on with your therapist or, again, your support group, whoever it is, just show up to that. Let's see what people are saying in the comments. Recovery first. Yes, basically recovery first, like meetings, just calling somebody. Mm-hmm. Yeah, basically what Randy's saying. Recovery's got to be first. Yeah, what's that saying? Like if I put something ahead of my recovery, that's the first thing that I'm going to lose, because you lose everything, Right. And that saying always stuck with me because I just thought it was like so deep at the time when I heard it. I'm like, that is true. Because sometimes, and we'll probably get into this tip at some point, but we clean up nice, right? Like we get, right away we start to feel better and we think we're recovered and we think we're doing so much great and we no longer need the meetings, or we don't need to call our sponsor, or we don't need to call our supports, and we get busy with other things, or we get a new job, or we start going to school, and then our recovery starts to fall by the wayside. So when that happens, the first thing we're going to lose is that job if we start using it again. The first thing we're going to lose is all those other things that we put ahead of our recovery. So I think like when it, number 2, making meetings number 1 is really making recovery number 1, whatever that may look like for you. Who else? Let's see, whatever. I love the fact that people are already talking amongst themselves. They're not even
it's great.
Saying, they having their own conversations and supporting one another. I so love that.
Don't get too comfortable. That's so, and yeah, just something to bounce off what you said is like, I was meeting with my mentor the other day, and, the first time I think I'm comfortable, I'm the furthest thing from comfortable. Once I think I'm the best employee, I'm the furthest thing from the best employee, once I'm just with everything.
Yeah, for sure. I love this one from Chuck. He said, don't get too comfortable. So that's really it too. Like making your recovery number one, don't get too comfortable. Make the meeting, make your program, make, your treatment, whatever it is that you're doing, make that number one and don't get too comfortable because, it's just we're not, and even like the people who have like years and decades and whatever, they're always like, oh, just a day at a time. I only have today, because at any point in time they can go through something and God forbid they relapse or something happens, and so we're not guaranteed recovery, and we have to work at it every day. So I agree with you, Chuck. Don't get comfortable. Who else? What else are we saying on there? My comments are not loading, and I think that's probably because it's going pretty fast.
Yeah, it is. Tina says, oh
no, who'd you see?
Tina, she says, any program that had a chair, I had earned a seat. So much to learn. Oh, perfect. You just posted it. Willing to do whatever it takes. Going to a meeting daily is my way of change of ways. I chase my meetings like I chase my dope.
Yeah, I've heard that. I've heard that one too. Like you have to go with this as hard as you went to, or as hard as you went through like your addiction, like there was nothing that could get in your way. Like if you wanted to go out and party and do what you wanted to do, like nothing could get it. That's the same approach you need to take when you're dealing with your recovery. Like nothing should get in your way. Right. So with that said, we have a tip so that nothing gets in your way. Tip number 3, create a schedule. I think that is the perfect segue, because if you create a schedule, then you won't have those pop-ups. And maybe if there is a pop-up, you know how to manage it or arrange different things. So tell me about this tip, Tori.
Yeah, I mean, and a few people posted this, but and it wasn't too popular, but I thought it was kind of important because making a schedule is very important. I mean, you need to know what you're doing from day to day, but it can definitely help keep you on track. And if you have something already in place, like, okay, I'm going to go meet this person for coffee, or I'm going to go do something, and you write it down and it's already made, it's hard to, get out of it. It's really good to stay accountable with the schedule and, have a set structure, because we thrive on repetition, and that's super important. I mean, when I was in my addiction, I had no the only repetition I had was drinking. So I just think it's super important. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I think a schedule is important on so many levels. So like, in early recovery, I think the biggest reason to have a schedule so that you don't have to worry about getting bored, right? So like the first thing that we do is like, we're not using, we already think that, we feel better when we're using. We already think our brain tells us like we'd feel better, we'd have more fun. Like we know it stopped being fun, but our brain still tells us that. And it also like, if we get bored, then we're going to start having those thoughts in early recovery of like, what would be really cool right now? Oh, doing this, So the point of creating a schedule too is so that you don't get bored, so that you don't have like idle thoughts and, you're just like not really having anything to do and can get yourself into some trouble, or you start calling people, you shouldn't be calling, seeing what they're doing. And then before you know it, what can happen. So I think a schedule and creating a structure is really, really important in early recovery, so that you don't have, so that aside from like knowing what you're going to do on each like time frame and every hour, you also can have like a list of things you can do, if you do get bored, like if you do have some downtime, like maybe you can read, maybe you can go to the beach, maybe you can call up somebody that you met and go meet for coffee or whatever. So that's a reason to create a schedule in early recovery, and just in life in general, like I think creating a schedule is so important, and I abide by that in my life now, because self-care is something that will be important in your life no matter what, and where you are in your recovery. And I'm the kind of person that I tend to put myself last, and my priorities and work comes first, and that's basically everything else comes first, when it comes to my life. And then I come last, my self-care is last. And if I don't keep a schedule and I don't keep like myself organized, it's so easy for me not to schedule myself in or to think about myself that day because I got so busy doing other things. So I think it's really important to schedule some self-care time no matter where you are in your recovery. So I think having a schedule is a great tool no matter where you are in your recovery. But I think idle time is, the key and what you're trying to avoid with like having a schedule and early recovery.
Right. Absolutely.
Let's see what is everybody else talking about over here. Gym is great therapy. Yeah, actually it is. I was having this conversation with a personal trainer who works, who works with people in recovery. And he was saying like just 20 minutes walking, can can decrease your symptoms of depression and anxiety, like in early recovery. And so as you guys know, when we're in early recovery, we are very, our dopamine levels and everything is just all over the place, and we're trying to like heal our brain. So exercise is just a great way to do that. And you don't have to do CrossFit or anything like that. You can even walking 20 minutes can have an effect on, all those chemicals in your brain and can really help you feel better. So if you get bored and you have a gap in your schedule, go walk around, go walk the block, and just a good block. Don't go walk that block. You know what I'm talking about. So just, just go walk, go to the mall or something, walk around the mall, whatever. But I mean, that will make you feel better, especially again, when you're still like sort of in withdrawal and still healing. Your brain is still trying to heal for sure. Let's see, who else? Routine, Randy again. Routine is huge and the gym is awesome too. Helps tremendously. Yeah, exactly.
It ain't broke, so I ain't fixing it. I like it.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, made this easy out doing push-ups in the parking lot. Yeah, basically. Ryan says, some people think recovery isn't fun, but I find a lot of pro-social activities in my community, whether it's through Facebook activities in my community or newspaper. It's true. So if you don't have anything, if you're working on your schedule and you're like, I don't have anything to do, I got laid off from my job, or, I'm trying to find a new job, like you're starting over all over again, like look in the newspaper, look on Facebook. There's tons of recovery events. I mean, even on this page, we post like there's Recovery Fest coming up. I mean, there's so many things that the recovery community puts together. I mean, your local like clubhouse, and they are always having events. There's meetings going on every day. So stop acting like there's nothing for you to do. You could get to a meeting. Churches have service. I mean, there's a lot you could do. And even if you want to do something a little bit more fun, I mean, there's like softball leagues and there's like sports and beaches and the gym. Even if you don't know anyone to like join a sport, find something to do. But that's a great tip to, find or try to create a schedule.
Yeah. And I think also going either whatever meeting you choose, I mean, finding people that like the same things as you and, like to have fun just like you. I think that's really important because I think we talked about this last week, but like I didn't get sober to be bored.
Yeah. Nobody wants to be bored.
Yeah. Ew.
Caitlin said, I walked 2 miles today. Feels great while I'm doing it. And I've been so lazy. I'm 46 days sober today. Oh my God. Congratulations, Caitlin. That's awesome. Yeah. And if you keep that going, you're going to feel so much better. And just to think that that's like that's like healing your brain, and we don't even realize that just by walking, whatever, like that's going to have an effect on our depression and anxiety symptoms. And, and that's the great thing about our body and our brain is that it starts to heal itself from everything we did to it. So I think that's awesome, Caitlin. Definitely keep it up. Okay, cool. Let's move on to the next tip, which is avoid high-risk situations. Okay, so that seems like a common and like common sense. Like, don't hang out with people that are using. Don't hang out with people who are like not in recovery at first, because I know I have a lot of friends who are not in recovery and it doesn't bother me. But I've also, I also know what to do, and that doesn't bother me at this point. But in early recovery, that's just something I couldn't do. So Tori, tell me more about this tip and what people were saying about this advice.
Yeah. So I think, I mean, if you, wherever you go, if it's, you know, to have fun or whatnot, like if you're going to a concert or going to like I don't know, a birthday party or just like a get together, I mean, you know, make sure you know like your triggers, if you will, or what can kind of get you stuck in your head and get your, you know, mind going about your, you know, alcohol or drugs. And make sure you have like a purpose for being there. So I think especially in early recovery, you know, it's like, okay, well, I'm sober now, so I can go do this and this and this. But it's super important to just have like, know your limits, I think, and know where you can be safe. Because, you know, especially if you end up in a situation where, you know, you thought you weren't going to be in a high risk situation, but you end up being in one, also have an out. You know, it's super important. Call a friend, you know, call a sponsor or a mentor or whatever. But just, I think knowing those situations and those triggers that can put you at risk can help a lot in the long run. Randy just said, I'm a bouncer. And
I read that too. I'm like, really? I want to ask you so many questions. Yeah, let's put that comment up so everybody else can read it. Guys, Randy's a bouncer, so like do not mess around with him because he will put you in a chokehold and kick you out. So no, and I'm like, that's awesome. I mean, some people do go back and work in entertainment and work in environments where there's alcohol and there's, you know, all kinds of stuff going on, and they're, you know, they're strong in their recovery and they've done, you know, what they needed to do and they can handle it. But I agree with you, Tori, like you gotta know yourself, you gotta know, you know, just be honest with yourself, right? Like, you know, like even, you know, when I was, you know, because I wasn't just like a one-time wonder where I just like, you know, one day decided to put things down, you know, it took me a couple of attempts, but, you know, I knew like if I was going to go to a certain event, there was a chance that, you know, something may happen. And I went anyway because I wanted that to happen. So I think if you made the decision that you don't want to live that life anymore, I think you got to be really honest with yourself. And if you know that situation is going to be high risk, don't put yourself in that situation. If it's a situation that you shouldn't or don't want to avoid, like let's say a family event that's like a big deal, like your sister's wedding or something, have a plan. You know, call people, go with somebody that, you know, supports you and supports your recovery. Let people know what you need. Like if you need people not to offer you alcohol, let your family know. Let, you know, the hosts know, like, listen, don't have people, you know, ask me if I want something to drink. I'm sober. And that's okay to say, by the way. Like, you know, we had this conversation too a couple of weeks ago that there's really that we're sort of the cool kids now. People who don't drink or do drugs are kind of viewed as, you know, not outcasts anymore. You know, we're kind of like, a lot of people don't drink alcohol because of a lot of reasons. So nobody's going to look at you odd, like you're, you know, like something's wrong with you. If you decline a drink, it's fine. But I definitely want to know what you guys think about this one and how you guys handle high risk situations. Again, we know Randy's got it down. He's a bouncer. So
he has a purpose for being there. He's going to work, you know, like exactly. I don't want to just go. I'm not going to go just like hang out at a club and chill out at the bar just because I feel like doing it. Like that's like, there's something else going on in my mind. And that's why I'm there.
Well, you know, I think like for me, like I'd go to a club. I mean, I wouldn't go sit at a bar. Like, I mean, I may sit at a bar if there's no seats and I need to sit down, and you know, I'll probably get like a soda or something, or, you know, a coffee, depending what kind of bar it is. But yeah, no, I go out dancing and I go on cruises and I go out, you know, I went to Ibiza in recovery. Like,
yeah, I was in Scotland and Ireland.
Yeah,
you know,
Ireland is a great example. So, you know, but in early recovery, I don't think I could have been to Ibiza. You know, I don't think I could have went like sat at a bar or even though like alcohol wasn't really my thing, so I could always sit at a bar and not need a drink. But you know, I was just lucky like that. But I mean, in early recovery, like there's just certain things, you know, I knew I couldn't do, and I think like, you just have to be honest with yourself. So let's see what everybody else is talking about. Ooh, good one. Nicole, let's get you up there. If you're at a wedding, remove the wine glass from your spot. Yes, actually, it was a wedding. Somebody was renewing their vows this weekend, and they were going to do a toast, and they were pouring the champagne. And I was like, no, I don't want anything. Thank you, whatever. And then a couple of times they were trying to pour it, and I'm like, no, I don't want any. But, it wasn't a big deal. It didn't bother me.
Right.
But it's just like, I probably should have removed the glass. But it was also, they were so pushy that they probably would have found me a glass anyway. But that is a great tip. If you remove the glass and you're just like, look, I'm not drinking, they're going to like leave you alone. But that's a great, great tip. Who else? See. Yes. Ryan, boundaries are extremely important. Yeah. Even if you are going to a situation that's not supposed to be high risk, don't be afraid to educate someone and be like, look, this is my boundary. This is how I get down. Do not do whatever the boundary may need to be. And sometimes, we don't plan on the situation being high risk and it just happens. So you got to know what your boundaries are and be ready to like deploy those boundaries on the spot. What do you think, Tori?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's super important. And one of the things I say is, like if someone, I don't know, I've been like out at a concert or a festival or something and someone offers me a drink and I'm like, well, sometimes I either say like I'm allergic or I say like, well, if I have one, like I won't show up to my family's house for Christmas in 6 months, like I don't know where I'll be. And so I think, boundaries like that are super important. And, if you just say, no, like I don't drink, then no one's going to ask you again. The same person isn't going to ask you again.
Oh my God. So, and I'm sorry to cut you off, but Randy's signing off. Have a great night. But he's like, I have to get back to Patriots football. So I'm wearing a Patriots t-shirt.
Oh God.
So I'm not into football. I just love the t-shirt. So I'm a total poser right now. But so it's just a coincidence that he's going to go watch the Patriots and I'm wearing the t-shirt. It's just one of those t-shirts that you break in and you're just like, I love it. So, no, I don't. I only watch the Super Bowl. Like I'm not into sports. I'm more of a lounger. You know what I mean? Like I don't play sports. I'm like more of a lounger.
You watch the Super Bowl for the commercials and the halftime.
Right, and the food. Like I'll go to your Super Bowl party and eat the food and like wear a team T-shirt if it's cute and comfortable. Like that's the kind of like football fan I am.
Throw that T-shirt away, but. Yeah.
We'll say that I lost focus. I just saw him say that. Good night, Randy. Thank you so much for being here and participating tonight. And let's see what everybody else is talking about. Yeah. Nicholi, I think that's how you pronounce. Okay. Alcoholism. An addiction to hardcore street drug is completely, absolutely, yes, it is. It's so different. And, sometimes again, but I think, that's what makes it tricky. I think like when it comes to like high risk situations, like you're more likely to be in high risk with alcohol. Like I think it's easier to stay away from harder drugs unless you're like, it's a significant other like that's using those harder drugs or you're living with a person like a situation you can't get out of. I think that's a little bit easier to avoid and that's why I think we started talking about alcohol because that's just everywhere and some people can't avoid it. Like they would just have to like lock themselves in their closet or a room to have to avoid all substances. But I agree, it is completely different. What is MAT? Okay, medication assisted treatment. And I think that came up in the thread, but I'm not sure what.
Yeah, someone asked what it was. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see. Who else?
Merritt, he cut ties with all his friends for those days. He had to. He lost 4 of them in the last year, all younger than him, from liver disease to drunk driving to suicide. I'm so sorry.
Gosh, so sorry, dude.
That is,
I can't find that comment, but
yeah, but that's devastating.
Yeah, it is.
You do have to at sometimes when you get sober cut ties with like certain friends that you had, because it's just not healthy for you, and you're using buddies, and I definitely cut ties with some of them too, but they know that I live this type of life now, and so. They go their own way, But
well, I mean, I didn't really have an issue with that because I no longer had anything to offer them. You know, my car was
right.
totaled, so I couldn't give anybody a ride. So they cut me off. I was of no value to anyone because I didn't have a car, you know, I didn't have money, you know, I didn't have anything to offer anyone. So, you know, that wasn't hard. But, you know, I understand there's other people who have like lifelong friendships, you know, and it's a lot different. There's like different kind of bonds. But in my situation, that, you know, that they cut me off. So, and then Katie over here said, I have people hand me stuff all the time and I decline. My happiness is more important than any high.
I love
Good
that.
for you. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, and I think it's also important to remember, like, okay, if you're in that type of situation, like where you came from, you know, because a lot of the times, like, I forget. I'm like, oh yeah, I wasn't just, you know, doing that a couple years ago, but we love to forget. And
yeah. And then Caitlin says, especially hard when you go through severely painful withdrawals. Yeah, I mean, you know, like definitely that's even worse. I mean, you're totally in a high risk situation, and that's why you need to like go see, you know, hopefully a professional. Like you can go and have more support, and maybe your sponsor or somebody that if you don't know of a professional you can go to that knows what you're going through. Then talk to your sponsor, talk to your support, see who helped them, and you know, try to get some tools or go see, you know, people who have, you know, who have acupuncture. There's so many things that you can do nowadays to deal with withdrawal symptoms, that doesn't have anything to do with taking medication. If you have to take medication, just be sure that it's like a solid treatment plan that includes therapy and, you know, and that you have, again, the counseling component, but also, you know, whatever it is that you're following, you know, professionals' recommendations, and you're not like kind of doing your own treatment plan or your own thing. It's really important that you're under the care of a professional, no matter what you do. But yeah, like being not only at high risk situations, but if you're sick, you know, and you're trying not to be sick and you don't feel good and all you want to do is like not feel good, like absolutely that's a high risk situation all around. And that's why, you know, you need to, not only do you need the support, but you need to talk to a professional, whether that's, you know, again, counseling or a doctor or whoever, you know, talk to somebody who, you know, knows what they're doing and can help you deal with that, because you're definitely, you yourself are a high risk situation at that point. You're still, right, you know, having those symptoms. Tim is saying unfollow or snooze people who post excessively about their drinking on social media. Good one. Yeah. I did not think about that one. Yeah, I mean, there's people who still think that's cute to post about, you know, they're drinking and they're using on social. And yeah, you just got to unfollow them or snooze them, like Tim suggested, because sometimes some people may get offended or it may, you know, or it's a family member and you don't want like the extra drama. So you can go.
It's a friend that you used to hang out with all the time. And it's like, you know, you think back to like, oh, like I miss being back there and doing that. But obviously that's not good. So yeah, it's a good idea to snooze them or unfollow them.
Yeah, well, and it's just not a good look to be posting that kind of stuff on social media. And that's a whole other topic. You know?
Veronica knows a lot about that. So
yeah, no, for sure. Let's move on to the next tip because it's starting to get late. But I mean, these are all tips and things they could all be topics of their own, by the way. Like, so, you know, because I feel like there's so much good advice. And thank you guys for commenting and, you know, giving us your insight as well, because there's been some really good comments. So the next tip is avoid major life changes. Let's talk about that tip.
Yeah. So I think it's super, I mean, you're making a huge life change, first of all, by getting sober. Like you're moving from drinking every day, whatever, how often you did it, to doing a new way of life, which is completely different. It's like, you know, turn left, I want to go right, or whatever, you know, whatever you want to do. But yeah, I think it's super important not to make any big life changes like moving or starting a new career or, you know, having a baby or getting, you know, some people do that, but, you especially going through like that, the ups and downs of whatever those things may cause. You're learning how to live a new life and learning about your emotions and how to deal with stress. And a lot of those things can creep up when you make major life changes, and it can lead down a slippery slope. So I think it's super important to just kind of like be for a little bit and just let yourself experience life as this kind of new person.
So hard.
Yeah.
It's so hard because you're just sitting there like, okay, great. I'm clean and sober. What am I doing with my life now? Especially if you lost everything and you have to rebuild it, then maybe you have a few things to do. But if you're kind of like trying to figure out what you're going to do with your life and you're not really sure, it is so hard to be patient. And that's why, like, again, we encourage people to get mentors, to get a sponsor, get people to talk to, because if we're left up to our own thinking, which is what got us there, God knows. So here's my experience with not making life changes. I decided when I probably had like a month clean and sober, I decided I wanted to be a psychologist. So, I mean, just saying that, like, you get where this is going. So I decided to like enroll in school and take out a loan for my classes. So I attempted to go back to school. This is all within my first 90 days, you guys. And I can tell you that did not last. So that was like, I was taking online classes and I probably did maybe like a week or two. And then I stopped. But guess what? I still was responsible for paying those fees. So I was stuck with like the cost of that class for like a few months, probably like a year or two. I'm not even gonna front. Like I was on a payment plan. Like I was getting letters from like Sally Mae, like, we need you to pay the bill. Yeah, straight up. Like, so that's my experience with that. So don't do it. Wait a little while.
I just want to cut you off real quick because there's a person that everyone in the comments is saying to reach out to this girl, because there's a person that said, I need help. I'm struggling to stay sober and I need sober friends. And that's Melissa. So,
okay.
Melissa, we're here for you. I mean, there's so many sober people in this thread online that I'm sure you could talk to. You can talk to me. You can send me a message on Facebook or send me an email. My email's tori@sobernation.com. But you're not alone. And, there's plenty of other people that have had a hard time staying sober, but that have been able to stay sober. So,
yeah, no, thank you. And I think it's so important just to reach out, and the fact that you're saying like, look, I need help, like, props for doing that. And you definitely showed up in the right thread, because, we're all here, everybody's commenting and they will support you. But like Tori said, go ahead and email her and, we'll see how we can help you.
Absolutely.
Definitely. Hopefully, like, some of these tips will stick. If the tips, if you need something more acute, then, again, email Tori. We'll see what resources we can connect you with. But yeah, I don't see her comment.
Yeah, it was a while ago, and then people said, Melissa, like, if you need help.
I see somebody saying, stay strong, raise your hand. Ask for help. Got it. I'm seeing that. Okay. Yeah.
So sorry that I cut you off there.
No, I don't even remember like what I was talking about, because that's like so much more important.
She says, here's Melissa again. I think about using a lot, but I haven't given in. Get to a meeting, or, email me, tori@sobernation.com. I'll hook you up and, get you connected with people. I know a lot of sober people all throughout the country. So,
yeah, I mean, yeah, it's like, this is a big network of people. So you guys, no matter where you are, if you are struggling and you need help, like, definitely reach out. Whether it's the message section here on Facebook, we also have the community forum, which, Tori's going to share the link to that so you guys can sign up, which is almost like, again, the community where you can sign up, but like, it's private. So you don't have to worry about people reading your comments, and you can actually like get into further details if you don't feel comfortable, like, talking about everything on, Facebook comments, which you probably shouldn't. If it's a public profile, you should just be careful of how much personal information you disclose. So, definitely like join a community that's a little bit more secure, where you can really, talk about some of the details and what you're really going through without worrying about other people
I
reading out.
just
So there's
the link to it.
let me see if I can go ahead and put that up.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Megan, I'm going to give you.
Yeah.
Hold on. Let me just go back. I'm going to type it in.
So that's the link to the community, you guys, so that if you need additional support beyond this thread and you want to, again, talk a little bit more and not disclose personal information on this thread, you could join the community. It's a forum. Again, you have to be a member in order to post and comment on there. So it's a little bit more private, more secure. So your privacy will be protected. And Megan just asked for your email.
Yeah, I put it on there. So if you want to just put it up real quick.
I can't, for some reason, I think that because so many comments are happening at the same time, some don't post real time. So the only thing I'm seeing from you right now is the community thread. So hopefully
I will do it right now again. Tori at SoberNation.com. And I love it. There's so many people that are telling her to reach out, which is super cool. And that's what we love about this forum, just like this whole thread. So yeah, feel free to email me. I mean, if anyone, not just Melissa, but anyone is struggling and embarrassed to, say it on the thread, then, email me and I'll connect you. We have Sober Nation has a lot of connections. So, we'll definitely hook you up.
Yep, exactly. But thank you so much for speaking up. And again, be sure to go through the comments yourself, Melissa, so that you see who else is offering to connect with you, that you can reach out to them and, also have additional support. So those were life changes. And, again, I think everybody is kind of clear on that just don't get into any major commitments and things that you may regret, because our emotions are going up and down. We're just trying to figure things out. So don't commit to anything big that you're going to have to pay for years like I did. Don't take out a loan. So don't do that. Learn from my mistakes. But the next tip is make a list of goals. So Tori, do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I do. So I love making goals because I like to look back on where I was a week ago or a month ago or a year ago. But I think goals are so important because when I was getting sober and even now I'm like, okay, well, I want something to look forward to. Okay, I'm gonna, and this is a huge one, but in 3 months, I'm gonna buy a car. And, I'm going to work up and save all this money and buy my first car. I don't have to take the bus anymore, And so I just think making goals are super important because you have something to focus on. And although recovery is about, staying in the present, it's easier at least in my experience, to achieve things when I know exactly what I want for that goal. And, this way I have a clearer idea of what I'm trying to achieve. And, when I was drinking, all my goals revolved around getting my next drink. So, it's super, I think it's super important and such a good tip.
Yeah, no, I agree. Especially when you have all that downtime, instead of signing up for stuff, write down the list of goals first, get really clear on what you want to do. Caitlin is also reaching out. I guess she's she wants to live completely drug-free, but she's scared to death. Yeah.
That's normal. That's completely normal though.
Yeah. We all had that huge fear because we know where, our addiction can take us. And, again, keep reaching out, stay active in the community, not only online, but also, go to meetings, whatever meetings work for you, get a sponsor, get a mentor, reach out to some of the folks who are offering support here on this thread. People are suggesting that you reach out, that, so do it, follow through. Don't just, because I know I used to do that as well. Like I used to be like, I feel like crap, blah, blah, blah. And, or speak up at a meeting, be like, I need help. And people would come up to me and say, this is my number. And then I wouldn't call them. So like, make sure you also follow through and, or when you feel better, you're like, I don't need to call them. I feel better now. Like that was last night, but then you'll have another moment like that. And then you kind of feel bad about having to call them because the first time that they offered, you never called them. Like, you know what I'm talking about? Like, right. Call like the time that you really need them again because you didn't call the last. So it just turns into this whole like cycle of like
utilize them. I mean, these people are here at your disposal. I mean, Sober Nation is here at your disposal. Why not take what you can from it? And then Megan said once the next time you go live, probably we will be live again next Thursday. Yeah, at the same time, probably.
Yeah, give or take 9 to 9:15.
Right.
Every now and then we have our little tech issues, and we need to make sure that all the equipment is working. And I'm seeing myself a little blurry, which may be driving me a little crazy right now. So the tech issues are always, a thing for me.
Never
so
a dull moment.
We say 9 to 9:15 because we need to make sure that like everything is squared away. But yeah, no, we love to have everybody back here. Next week we'll have another topic and something else to talk about. And I think the last tip, which is a perfect way to close it, is to stay grateful, right? And I think that no matter what you're going through, whether it's, you're struggling with recovery or you're struggling with just life in general, I think when you get into a place of gratitude, things open up, and when you are grateful for even the little things, something happens, something magical happens, and, more things happen that help you move along the way. So, especially when it comes to recovery, gratitude is a big thing. It's a big principle. Tori, do you want to talk about this tip real quick before we go?
So I had a friend that she's actually my best friend. And every day in her first year of sobriety, she made a gratitude list, whether that be for like, I don't know, the trees, like her eyeballs so that she can see, like that was literally one of them. But like, her sponsor or whatnot, and like the bus that she took to get to her halfway house every night. But just these little things can change our perspectives when we're really feeling stuck. Because it definitely could be way worse if you are, not in a bad head, if you're in a bad head space. Hello, is that the word? I can't talk. But yeah, it can definitely just change your entire outlook on life, and just stay grateful. I think that's super important and one of my favorites. So
yeah, no, for sure. I think gratitude does amazing things. Like it's something that I try to practice, and it has really nothing to do with recovery, the reason why I practice it today, but it's such a good principle to just apply in your life that, of course, it enhances my recovery. And let's see, Todd said, goals in early recovery are very good, especially when you go back and look a year later and see how much you exceeded them by doing the work, of course. Absolutely. I mean, when you go back, and especially if you journal, I know if you go to treatment, a lot of counselors do recommend that you start journaling, that you start writing. It's very therapeutic, but maybe it's not as formal as like writing down goals, but maybe you just get a notebook and you start writing the things you want to create in your life, and if you write, that's also another great tool for early recovery because you have so many emotions. You probably have a lot to say, a lot of mixed feelings, a lot of resentments. So writing is a great tool to get all of that, out of you in a healthy way. And so there's so many benefits to writing. So you could also write a list of goals and things that you want to do. So I agree with you, Todd. And then later you come back and like read all that stuff and you're like, oh my God, I've done so much better. And then you can be grateful. You're going to feel gratitude. You're going to be grateful about all the things that you've achieved. And then
I want to just Jesse.
Yeah,
oh yes, that one.
Exactly. That's where I was going. I caught that one. Jesse, I mean, everyone, and I mean, God bless the people who are not in this thread and in this conversation who have never relapsed. I think you're amazing if you've never relapsed. But except for those people, everybody has relapse. So I need you to like not feel bad. I mean, you have to feel bad in the sense that like it's not something you want to do, right? Like, you know, I think some sort of healthy guilt is important, but shaming yourself is like where you have to watch it, because it's just an emotion that is just kind of useless. It's not productive. I think healthy guilt and healthy like regret, rather, not even guilt, like a healthy regret is cool, but I just don't want you to beat yourself up. And I don't want that to like stop you from doing what you need to do to get back on track. Like, don't feel bad. Don't feel like, you know, everybody has been in your shoes at one point or another. So nobody's going to judge you. And if they do judge you, that's their stuff. You don't need to take that on. That has nothing to do with you. They have their own issues. So just please know, like, we've all been there. It happens. Again, something we talked about last week, you lose your clean time, your clean date rather, but you don't lose what you learned. So I'm sure in that time you learned a lot, and you learned a lot of tools. So those are all things you can still do. Those are all things you can still apply to, you know, to your recovery. So don't be discouraged.
One said, okay, I want to give it another shot. I just don't want to fail.
I'm sorry, what?
I hear myself. I want to give it another shot. I just don't want to fail. That's scary, but so is my binge drinking.
Gotcha.
There we go. You got it.
Yeah. Yeah, so, no, of course. Like, binge drinking is like super scary as it is. And yeah, no, for sure. Give it another shot. I mean, you can do it. You could totally do it. It's hard, you know, and that's why everybody says a day at a time. Like, don't think about like, oh my God, I have to quit drinking forever. Think about, I got to quit drinking today. Like, and right. You know, whatever happens tomorrow happens, but you also have to be proactive, and you have to take the suggestions, some of the ones we've shared tonight, not because we're some sort of experts or, you know, because we said it or we said so, but because it's what we know not only has worked for us, but everyone that we polled in this community. Like, these are all tips that came from people who show up every day to engage and comment and are part of Sober Nation. So this is what has worked for thousands of people that are part of this community. So please, please, please give yourself a chance and apply some of these tools and, you know, show up. Like, and by the way, like, everyone who kind of, you know, who did ask for help, who's struggling tonight, we want you back here on Thursday at 9:00 and let us know how you're doing. Like, please come back and just say, like, if you're still feeling crappy, whatever, wherever you're at, like, however you're feeling, please show up and let us know how you're doing. We're going to be thinking about you. And we're definitely going to be, like, if you were asked to contact us, please contact us. We are going to be expecting you to reach out. And please come back and let us know how you're doing. Don't just like show up and disappear, because then we're going to get worried. We're like your new parents. We're going to get worried. So definitely keep us posted. Let us know how you're doing. We want to hear the good too. You know, if you're doing great and, you know, you're feeling better, we want to know that. Okay, let's see what else everybody's talking about. Be stressed, be blessed.
Sober is much easier.
I'm sorry, what?
Todd said, getting sober is hard, staying sober is much easier. And I think that's so true. You know, getting sober and putting down the alcohol or the drug is super hard. I mean, you know, it's this transition, but staying sober and not having to pick up and, you know, doing one day at a time, just like Veronica just said, it's so much easier. And, you know, and some of the comments when I was looking are like, don't drink or don't use and just don't pick up. And I think that's so simple. And it's such a good saying, but at the same time, you know, it's not that simple. You know,
life happens.
Yeah.
Life happens. And, you know, we're used to coping with substances. And, you know, that's why it's so important that at some point, you know, we do like go to a counselor and talk about, you know, things that led us to using and like what's really going on and why we developed, you know, the pathology that like we ended up like inheriting, and why, you know, substances were like a symptom of what, you know, what else is going on with us that made us, turn to that behavior, turn to those coping skills, right? Like what else was going on that's what we needed to make us feel like we belonged? What was going on that's what we needed to help us, cope with things? And like there's people out there that like don't need substances, and I don't know how they do it, like how they cope with life and how they're like just happy and perfect and normal people, like, and maybe they're not, they have their own issues. But what I'm saying is that we all, have something going on. And I think at some point we do need to look at, what brought us here, whether that is, doing the work with your sponsor, whether that's doing, work with a professional. We all need to do the work. And that's the only way we can stay in recovery. And I think for me, and everybody has their own experience. For me, that saying is, for me, was backwards. For me, putting it down was easy. For me, staying, in recovery was hard. For me, I was the kind of person that could go cold turkey and say, like, I'm not doing this anymore. This, that's just what I could do. But then a week would go by, and, even though I was like following suggestions, I would go back to that behavior. I would go back to, those thoughts that would lead me to that behavior. So for me, that was like a little harder staying in. And so it goes both ways, like for some people it's the opposite, and that's okay. We're all human and we're all individuals, and everybody's journeys are different. And I think that, again, when we can all create a space like we're doing right now, to have these conversations and to be real and to say, like, this is what happened to me. This is what happened to me. This is what works for me. This is what works for her. And have that honest conversation and say, I'm struggling tonight or whatever. Like, that's what it's about. Like, let's just keep it real and have these conversations, because, I think we're losing too many people. And I think, like, not everything works for everyone. And I think we need to be able to also accept that, and to, again, create a place of support where people could come and have that conversation. And so I'm just super grateful that you guys like chose to spend time with us tonight. If you're watching the replay, thank you for taking the time to watch this long conversation, because I see like we probably hit an hour already. But we do want you guys to come back. We are going to come up with another topic next week. If you guys have ideas for topics and things you want us to discuss, please let us know. Tori's email was just up there, which is tori@sobernation.com, TORI, and at sobernation.com.
Or you can send a message to the Facebook page too. Like, I check those. So
yeah, she checks the messages, and let us know if there's anything else you want to see. If we didn't get to your comment tonight, we're sorry. There were like a lot flying by, but we definitely gave priority to the people who were struggling or who felt, they needed additional support. And I think that, at the end of the day, that's why we're here, to be of service. And hopefully you guys got something out of some of the information that we had to share. And that's all I can hope for. Tori, any last words?
Yeah, thank you guys so much. I love Sober Nation so much, and just love what we do here. And I'm so excited to have everybody here, because you guys, this is your platform too. So hopefully we will see you all again next week.
Yeah, for sure. And we will be posting maybe another poll. I love this like whole question asking thing and getting people to like weigh in and being part of the article content creation process at Sober Nation, and being part of this conversation and building these conversations with you guys. Yay! Shonda said it's on her calendar. That means so much to me. That means, because sometimes like I feel like, sometimes when we do these videos, like I feel like we're talking to ourselves, so it's good to know like when people are, it's resonating with people and they're making time to do it. So that really does mean a lot. So thank you guys. Again, let us know. Don't forget to join the community. Don't forget to reach out if you're struggling. Everybody's here. Do not be ashamed. And if you have one day, or you have years and years and years, it's a day at a time, and we're here for you. This is your community. So show up, engage, support the next person, and we'll see you guys around. Bye.
Bye.